Hey, and thank you, Kev Moe. That was the worst is yet to come, and hope that's not a true story for the rest of us all the next couple of days. But I'm here, Michael James, with Tom Clark and Katie Hogan. We enjoyed the beautiful Lake Michigan, shimmering as it is today.
Amazing.
On our drive down here, and we're welcoming you to another edition of Live from the Heartland. We have a really neat show today. We have Cam Davis, and he is a write-in candidate for the Metropolitan Water Reclamation District, and that's an important thing you're going to hear all about. And we also have Mark Miller, who has a new book out called Jolt, Stories of Trauma and Transformation. And our old pals from Senegal, Tukuman, is back in town.
Ooh, yeah.
He's going to play some tunes for us. So we're going to have a real good time. We're going to fill you in. We're going to educate you. And you're going to enjoy this. So good morning to the rest of you.
Good morning, Michael.
Good morning, everybody.
Spring is around the corner, even though there's a bit of a nippiness in the air.
I hear you got daffodils coming up in New York.
Daffodils
Yeah,
up
me
about
too.
2 or 3 inches already. They suddenly just popped up, although our hens helped.
How about the
earth
farm report? Let's have a
Well,
little farm report.
we had a little tragedy on the farm in the backyard in Rogers Park a couple weeks ago. Our best layer, Goldie, who was raised by our grandson last winter, was taken off by a Cooper hawk who's been checking out our yard, and he got one. He got our best one. And ironically, our oldest hen, who had stopped laying about a year ago, started laying again. I don't know what this is between the 3 hens that are left, but
Let's ask them.
we are suddenly having as many eggs as we were with the main layer gone. So I don't know how that goes. Mother Nature, thank you.
I wonder if it's the same Cooper hawk that I saw attack a smaller bird in my backyard.
We know that there's a nest of them on the Skokie Swift gully.
Enough on the farm report.
And they have a 2.5 mile square area that they hunt in, and that includes us.
Yeah, we got a lot of Cooper Hawks in the hood. Look, let's get to the
Get to some nitty gritty.
let's get to the nitty gritty. We've got this supposed breakthrough with the ever diplomatic Mr. Trump talking no nukes to North Korea, and I heard the last thing I heard this morning was from CNN was that phone conversation never took place that he keeps describing. And as we talked about earlier, he also bypassed, his Secretary of State and pretty much everybody else connected with foreign policy to make this so-called plan. So, even when there's possibly good news, it turns sour. Speaking of good news turning sour, or not, the steel deal.
Well, we knew he would be a disruptor, and now he's turned around 30 years of free market forces and decided it's time to save the steel industry after all the jobs are gone and have gone somewhere else. Good for the new jobs that are reopening outside St. Louis. U.S. Steel announced 500 people coming back. They're going to start up one of their blast furnaces that were shut down a few years ago. On the other hand, there used to be 2,000 jobs there. Only 500 are coming back, and who knows if the trade-offs, particularly for Joe Sixpack, when that price of cans and everything goes up because of the tariff, I don't know if we'll end up ahead or not. Some people will get more work, perhaps locally, but we're all going to be paying more for any kind of materials that have steel and aluminum. Cars, washers, all those other things that are increasingly being made somewhere else instead of here.
In any case, I think we should keep track of the difficulty of figuring out how to actually note the twice a day when the clock is right on Trump's foreign policy, domestic policy, whatever. The man is doing enough crazy stuff and dangerous stuff that it's hard for people to give him credit if and when credit is due. So that's just, I don't know.
And of course the economic impact may take another half generation to actually see the full impact.
Right, but he'll take credit for anything that happens tomorrow.
Yes, I know.
Yeah. So neighborhood-wise, we just sent out, or we are sending out something that tracks an awful lot of activity that we've been a part of in the neighborhood, and one of them was the school forum at Sullivan High School that is now up on CAN TV. So that's the Ralph Materi Center on Budget and Tax Accountability with Raise Your Hand and Network 49, a school funding thing that you should definitely check out because information packed.
Mark Terry really has it down on budget and finance.
Has for years, that's right.
So what are you doing the next roughly 10 days before the primary, Katie?
I plant signs, I go into polling places. I've been into 20 polling places this week, talking with judges, submitting my credentials and saying, how you doing on a few things. There's people are going to get handed a flyer that says don't cast a ballot for these certain races because these people are, while they're on the ballot, your vote for them won't count. That's a strangeness. And then I get to see the difference from one polling place to the other in terms of neatness, organization, respect or lack thereof. And I gotta say, our own was at the bottom of the list.
How about that?
Our own was the bottom of the list, except for the one in the 40th Ward, which was trash covered.
Well, you would think there was a convention going on in Art Park Village where I bring my grandson to school. The gymnasium where they have a polling place. There might be a couple there. In
I was there.
Loreno's Ward. Can you believe the sign forest there outside the forest?
The sign force is a bit much everywhere.
I think it's one of the top sign makers that had a heyday, and I'm just thinking of where all that plastic foam is going to go afterwards. I wish there was a better way to recycle that
No
stuff.
kidding. No
Because,
kidding.
boy, there's so many, I don't think that any of them work because of the proliferation of the competing messages, particularly around judges we haven't heard anything about
That's
yet.
right.
So how do we deal with this judges thing, Katie?
You go to any one of the many signs. There's what was the one we handed
Injustice
out?
Walk, was that the one that,
Yes. What? Say that again.
Injustice Watch?
Injustice Watch is one. Chicago Council of Lawyers, of course, is the go-to list for everything. People need to understand that not everything on that list will appear on their ballot because of circuits and sub-circuits that they live in. So if you want to look at your ballot, you go to Ballot Ready or Chicago Board of Elections, enter your address, and it'll give you your entire ballot. What's most important this time around is people actually vote in the primary to give an indication that folks are paying attention. I, of course, am a nerd. I've voted in every election that came down the pike since I was 19. I don't understand why people don't vote. I don't understand why they don't make the connection between their lives, difficulties and ease, has to do with who gets elected in
And
some
most
ways.
importantly, the primary, because by November, half the decisions in a Democratic state
Bingo.
have already been made. So
Bingo.
here's your chance, folks,
Exactly.
to actually make a difference, particularly in what's allegedly a low turnout, off-season, off-presidential sort of election. But it may be the most important because of what happens locally. And in particular, if I make a plug here for your candidate, the assessor's race, I think, is almost as important as the governor's race
Yes.
this time.
Yes.
And Fritz Kagi deserves your vote.
Yes, thank you for that. And the other thing, it went out of my head.
That's okay. Let's keep moving right along here. We got a couple of announcements having to do with the. Katie, you're raising your finger.
I just want to say, I think we've got to get to our guests, but I want to say that the 14th, March 14th, is the day that students in high school will be walking out at 10 a.m. And if you want to support or have the backs of your young people, you go to your local high school and surround it with fellow adults and just silently have their backs.
And in our case, that would be Sullivan High
That's
School,
right.
where I know we have a sympathetic principal, but nonetheless, those students would be very happy to see a bunch of neighbors and adults
That's right.
joining them for that walkout at 10 a.m. on the 14th. Please join us on March 20th, after the March 20th election. Please join us on the 21st at the Heartland Bar. Network 49 will have a membership meeting, a brief membership meeting, and then a party to go over the results of the election, what it means for the coming months, and to get ready for November.
Okay, let's get going here now. And speaking of appearing on the ballot or not, let's bring on our next guest, Cam Davis.
Hey everybody.
Good morning to you.
Good morning.
Cheerful guy.
Yeah, you gotta be. There's a lot of good stuff going on.
So you're running for Metro Water Reclamation District?
That's
Metropolitan Water Reclamation District?
Michael says that like he's never heard it before. We've only had Deborah Shore on
I
the
got
show.
it right last week.
You got it right even just
Okay.
then. It's just that you're shy about it. What we know is that this is an extremely important body, and we're really happy about you joining the fray. Tell us why why we have to write you in,
Yeah.
and also why you're going why you're standing for this.
Sure. Well, first, Katie, water is our most important resource. Water is life. And the Metropolitan Water Reclamation District is this agency that not a lot of people have heard about in Cook County, but it's the agency that helps protect our water. So if you care about public health, if you care about the environment, if you care about the economy in Cook County, you gotta care about the Metropolitan Water Reclamation District. Because water underpins everything we do to survive. So the reason I'm doing this, the reason I'm kind of taking on this almost seemingly impossible task is because a former commissioner to the district, Tim Bradford, died unexpectedly and unfortunately in December, right at the time when petitions were due. So the only way to fill that spot, unless we want Governor Rauner to appoint, is as a write-in candidate. So that's why I'm running as a write-in candidate. The counterintuitive thing is you'll get to the end of the list on the primary ballot and it will say no candidate. It's the only spot that says no candidate.
Right.
And that's where you go, oh, wait a minute.
This is Cam's spot.
There is a candidate, and his name is Cam Davis.
That's Cam, C-A-M, Davis, D-A-V-I-S.
Yeah, Cam Davis.
You know, I've been practicing it too.
And all right, so we'll get to your many qualifications for this and your history, but while we've got their attention, how do people cast a write-in ballot?
Yeah. So they'll see the Metropolitan Water Reclamation District list of candidates, and at the very end, right after 69, there's something that says Bradford, vacancy of Bradford, no candidate. You poke the screen, if it's an electronic ballot, and a keyboard will pop up, and you type in
Cam Davis.
Now, how many do you need? How many signatures or votes do you need to get on the ballot in November?
Right, you need the number of signatures that you would have had to have on a petition had you done that. So 10,000, I think that's totally doable in an age of social media. If we get 100 in Arlington Heights, if we get 100 in, say, Thornton or Proviso, we aggregate all those and we're there. It can be done. It's just, I think the number one thing is people caring about their water.
I want to ask you, eeny, meeny, miny, moe.
No, I'm going. I'm stepping on him. As you said, this is like the most important. And we have seen ever increasing more qualified people go into the Metropolitan Water Reclamation District.
Deb Shore,
Deb Shore.
for sure.
Josina
Marita is another one. They're great.
Yeah,
Great guests on the show.
Yeah, and the head of the district,
David St. Pierre.
he's unbelievable.
He's great. He's fantastic.
So you are uniquely qualified. Tell us what you did before this regarding water that makes you ultra qualified.
Well, thank you for those kind words. I've spent my entire career working for the public interest in safe, clean water. I'm a Clean Water Act attorney. I litigated for the National Wildlife Federation. I was the CEO of the Alliance for the Great Lakes, headquartered here in Chicago, and then I also was President Obama's lead for Great Lakes restoration all around the region. But,
I like that.
Yeah, but qualifications probably count for 1% here. What really matters is that write-in vote. And I'll tell you, people are geeked out about it.
Mm-hmm.
People like you, Katie, who have been voting their whole lives, like I have said, I've never done a write-in before. I got to check this out. I got to try it out.
See, I'm a little older than you, Cam, and I do remember writing in Mickey Mouse when Nixon was running and stuff like that.
Oh, yeah, good one. Yeah.
People are geeked out about it. How are you getting the word? Do you feel like you're confidently getting the word out?
Yeah, and luckily there's a lot of help out there. Deborah Shore has been pushing it. Josina Marita has been pushing it. I was endorsed by the Chicago Tribune yesterday and the
Great.
Sun-Times a couple of weeks before that. All of those things help, and I think it really is a testament to the fact that people do care about their water, and they see this vote as critical.
Cam Davis, tell us what led you to your love of water.
I grew up a few blocks from Lake Michigan, and my sister, brother, mom, and dad and I, we'd always go down to the lake and go to the beach, say every other weekend, and that helped. I still have these images in my head too when I was a kid, and they come back to me when driving down Lakeshore Drive on summer days, when you see sailboats out on the lake and this ethereal blue water and sky with these white sails just dancing out there. They're almost like angels to me. And that's one of the first images that I have in my mind when I think about Lake Michigan. But as we see rollbacks in terms of protections from the Trump administration, as we see the state increasingly unable to do its job to protect us and the public, that means that the job falls to us municipally to protect ourselves, and that's why this water reclamation district is so critical.
Cam Davis, Katie mentioned earlier that this all-important monitor of our water supply and what we do with water after we've used it has had an increasingly environmental cast to the board. What particular issues or concerns would you bring to this group?
Yeah. So one of them is reduced flooding. I remember growing up when our basement would flood from heavy rains, and I remember when river reversals would push out into the lake with sewage going out there and we couldn't go to the beach. Water quality is critical to us. The more we use it, the harder it is to keep it clean, and we need to do that for life itself. Another is just jobs, prevailing wage jobs. We need to make sure that the district is doing its part to help the middle class, because we all know that's the engine for the economy around here, to keep us and this metro region resilient. And fairness in contracting, to women-owned businesses, minority-owned businesses, veterans-owned businesses, all of those things. The district is a $1.3 billion agency, and it has a very big role to play in terms of equity around this region.
What do you think we should do about the Asian carp problem?
Yeah, we should keep them out.
But how do we do that? We've tried a few different things, electrifying the river that seems to be the main route, and there's a lot of things we can't quite control with this invasive species. I've always wondered why we don't set up a fishery to find, once we find a market for it, because I understand
I think
it's a very popular fish back in...
Governor Quinn wanted to do that.
Yeah, he did. So what do we do about it? When I was with the Obama administration, I always felt like, and I still do, that we have to do a variety of things. We can't just rely on engineering. We can't rely on chemicals. We have to do a variety of different things. And there are very few things where people will agree on the Asian carp dilemma. Well, one of them is you've got to keep fishing those populations down. The more you fish those populations down, the less risk there is of an invasion. And so that's something that I've really promoted, working with the Illinois Department of Natural Resources to do exactly, Tom, what you just said. We want to find products that can be used from Asian carp. They're a protein source. They can be used for fertilizer. They can be used for cat food. All of those things, dog food. And there are companies out there that are starting to seize that opportunity.
That's good. The invasive species is one problem, but really to me much more serious is the invasion of Scott Walker signing over $6 million, 6 million gallons a day of Lake Michigan water to Foxconn, and Nestle doing their thing and other bodies of water. I'm just so concerned that it's unleashed with
Everybody wants our water.
Yeah, everybody wants our water. How do we stop that from happening?
Yeah, well, we have to do it responsibly. That's the key thing. We all want jobs, but they can't be jobs at the at the expense of imperiling future generations. So I think one of the things that we need to do is make sure that water taken out is water that goes back, and it has to be better than, as good at, or better than what is taken out.
Cool. I like that. That's a good
I
answer.
had a follow-up question on the Asian carp. I wonder, have they gotten into the Great Lakes yet, or how close are they?
Yeah, so there are lots of different kinds of Asian carp. That's the difficulty in this conversation. The ones that we're worried about the most through the Chicago River system are bighead carp and silver carp. Silver are the ones that spring out of the water. They jump out of the water when they get irritated by outboard motors, and they hit people in faces and things like that as they're jet skiing. Those are the ones we're worried about the most. We have seen a few individual fish get into Lake Michigan and Lake Erie, for example, but we have not seen them in yet at reproducing population levels, and that's what we have to really try to keep from happening.
So finally, I'm going to ask you one question about the Harding water filtration system, which decades ago was lauded, our Chicago system right up near Navy Pier. Have they kept their good edge, or does that plant need upgrade?
Sure. I think the Chicago water system really is phenomenal. They do a great job. I know people are concerned about lead. That doesn't tend to be a problem with what's the water out in the lake. That
Right.
tends to be a problem with
The pipes.
the pipes and the fixtures. But the district has a role to play in making sure all of our water is safe, and that we're leaving it in a better state than the way we found it for the next generation. And that's where I'm running.
Just a little quick comment. When Evtushenko, the poet, came to Chicago years ago, where did he want to go? To see the water filtration plant, because it's famous.
Cam Davis, tell people once again how they do a write-in for you on the ballot.
Thank
this
you.
March 20th.
Yeah, so if you care about your water, you look for the list of candidates for the Metropolitan Water Reclamation District. And at the end of that list, somewhere below number 69, you will see a space that says no candidate. That's when you say,
But
there's
there's
a candidate. you poke on the screen for an electronic ballot, and a keyboard will pop up, and you type in
Cam Davis.
and hit OK, and then you've just voted for your clean water.
Right on.
Excellent.
And just so you know, folks, we've got a sitting U.S. Senator who won her race from Alaska on a write-in candidacy situation. So this can be done. You'll feel powerful when we win. Thank you, Cam Davis.
Thank you all.
And
This
thank
was
you,
great.
Sage, for coming up here with your
My
dad.
son, yeah.
You're listening to Live from the Heartland on WLUW 88.7 FM. Please like us on Facebook. And now for a little bit of water music.